Prime Minister, my friend, thank you. Thank you for the very good meetings today. I want to also express my appreciation to the Emir. And more generally, my appreciation, our appreciation to Qatar for the essential role that it plays as our partner in trying to bring peace, trying to bring stability, trying to bring progress to this region. Qatar's played an indispensable role in the work to bring the hostages home, to end the war, and to chart a better future for people in Gaza. And I have to say as well, the Prime Minister personally has spared no effort to work to bring the hostages home in his role as a mediator. And we had an opportunity today to talk about the way forward on the effort to bring the hostages home and to get a ceasefire. Partly this involves an assessment of exactly where Hamas stands in the wake of the death. We talked about options to capitalize on this moment and next steps to move the process forward. And I anticipate that our negotiators will be getting together in the coming days. But as you heard the Prime Minister say, it's also essential, even as we're working on that effort, that we continue to develop a plan for what follows so that Israel can withdraw from Gaza, so that Hamas cannot reconstitute, and so that the Palestinian people can rebuild their lives and rebuild their futures under Palestinian leadership. Throughout this trip, including with the Prime Minister and the Emir today, we discussed the concrete ideas that we've been developing for security, for governance, for reconstruction in Gaza. This is a moment for every country to decide what role it's prepared to play and what contributions it can make in moving Gaza from war to peace. And as I said the other day, I think this is a pivotal moment for that question because Israel has accomplished the strategic goals that it set out for itself, making sure that October 7th and the horrors can never happen again by effectively dismantling the organization of Hamas. It succeeded in doing that and bringing to justice its leaders, those who, notably Sinwar. And now that that's been accomplished, this is a moment to work to end this war, to make sure all the hostages are home, and to build a better future for people in Gaza. And as I said, it's necessary in order to do that to make sure that we have the appropriate plans in place. And we did have a productive discussion on that. Meanwhile, even as we're working on all of this, it is imperative that we continue to address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, the extraordinary challenges that the children, the women, the men of Gaza are encountering every single day. And that's all the more urgent with winter approaching, and we're deeply conscious of that. Here again, I have to say, Qatar's generosity over these many months has been extraordinary. Thousands of tons of food, of medical supplies, of life-saving assistance for the people of Gaza. The United States, as the largest provider of aid to displaced Palestinians, is also continuing to make vital contributions. Today we're announcing an additional $135 million in humanitarian assistance, water, sanitation, maternal health for Palestinians in Gaza, as well as in the region. And I would note that since October 7th of last year, our humanitarian assistance by the United States now totals more than $1.2 billion. But we all know that it's not enough to provide funding. It's not even enough to get the assistance to the borders of Gaza. What's so critical is that the aid gets to the people who need it. Secretary Austin and I emphasized in a letter that we wrote recently to our counterparts in Israel the imperative of Israel taking urgent and sustained action to make sure aid can get to those who need it. We have a list of very specific actions that we are tracking every single day. Now, there's been progress since we sent that letter, some positive steps, including the opening of the Erez passage, the decision to restart the Khan Yunis desalination plant that will give more than 1 million Gazans access to clean water. Some other steps that have been taken, but this is not yet enough. And we will continue to press for and take the necessary measures to ensure that we get greater progress and that we get greater results in making sure aid gets to those who need it. Prime Minister also noted that we have been deeply focused from day one on trying to ensure that the conflict in Gaza does not spread more broadly throughout the region. And even as we have real challenges, we're working to make sure that we don't see a major escalation and major conflicts develop elsewhere. With regard to Iran, we of course are concerned about the potential for broader conflict, particularly since Iran launched its second direct attack on Israel using ballistic missiles just 23 days ago. The United States supports Israel's right to defend itself, and we've been in close coordination with Israel on what is necessary to deter further aggression from Iran and to ensure that any response does not lead to an endless cycle of escalation. We're also continuing to work with our partners in the region to make very clear to Iran that further attacks against Israel will have deeply negative consequences for Iran's interests. We're very attentive to the fact that the risk of broader conflict is high, and that's all the more reason why we're determined and acting to try to make sure that we prevent that. And then finally, on Lebanon. We've spent some good time, both with the Emir and with the Prime Minister, talking about the conflict there, and as well the important role that Qatar has been playing, including as a leading donor of humanitarian assistance. As Israel conducts operations to remove the threat to Israel and its people along the border with Lebanon, we have been very clear that this cannot lead, should not lead to a protracted campaign, and that Israel must take the necessary steps to avoid civilian casualties and not endanger UN peacekeepers or the Lebanese armed forces. Right now, we're working intensely to reach a diplomatic resolution, one that sees the full implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701, and as a result, allows civilians on both sides of the border to return to their homes and to be able to live there in peace and security. We're also committed to building up and supporting Lebanese efforts to build up their own institutions, free from the grip of Hezbollah, so that the people of Lebanon have more security, more opportunity, more prosperity. Here again, Qatar has provided essential assistance to the Lebanese armed forces, including salaries and fuel. We're working with other partners to provide the Lebanese armed forces with the resources they need so that they can take greater responsibility for security throughout Lebanon and making sure that Lebanon can reassert its sovereignty. We'll continue to support the Lebanese parties as they work to resolve the presidential vacancy and empower leadership that reflects the will of the Lebanese people. So in each of these areas, we have a very full and very active agenda. And again, I'm very grateful for the partnership of Qatar in working to bring greater peace and greater security throughout the region.